Good evening, everyone. So, yesterday we learnt about module system and so how to use the CJS module system and how to work with ES modules. These two concepts we learned. And in modules, how to import and export we discussed. And we learnt about class. So we discussed about what is a class and class members. What are the members of class also we learned. So class members, we have four members are there. We have a property. So accessor, method, another one is constructor. These are the members of class. So today we will learn how to use them and we will learn about the objects available with Node.js also, how the Node.js objects work. First important in the modules, CJS system have a different export and import. So CJS uses require method for importing any module and using them. So now how to define classes and the class members and work with them. So here we will first create one class. So how the class behaves and the class related other concepts we learned. Now in the class, what we can have, let's see. Yesterday we discussed that functions and variables are not allowed as class members. Why? Because they are immutable type. Class member must be a mutable. Mutable means it must able to change according to the state and situation. So variables are immutable. You cannot change them. For example, I will give one requirement here. So we will see a simple requirement. The requirement is, suppose I am declaring some price and in the price we are defining some value. Now I should not allow to change price. Then what to do? Price once defined, I should not allow to change. Then how? If I declare var price, can I change? We can change because var allows assignment now. So how to define price so that I cannot change the price? Const. So instead of var, if I use const price, I cannot assign. You cannot assign any new value into constant because const allows only initialization. It allows only initialization. Now my requirement is I have two types of users. One is customer, another one admin. Customer cannot change the price, but admin can change. Then how? For one user, it should allow to change. For another user, it should not allow to change. Then how to declare variable like that? Which keyword I should use? If I use var or let, always I can assign. If I use constant, always I cannot assign. But in one situation, I should allow to assign. In another situation, I should not allow. Then which keyword I have to use, how to declare a variable for that requirement? There is no chance. You cannot declare like that. It's not possible. Once I declared with const, later I can declare with let. No, you cannot do like that because const will not allow same name identifier again. It will not allow same name identifier again. So not possible. So that is the problem with variable. So the problem with variable is variables will not allow to change according to say situation. That is the reason they are immutable. In class, we cannot have such immutable members. A class member must able to change itself. How it changes, I will show you how it is going to change. So actually, what is the problem with var and function is they are immutable. They cannot change according to the situation. Once they configured, they have the same type of functionality. So how to solve this problem is we can achieve that by using property. The first important class member, we have property. So in a class, we have properties. So what is the purpose of property actually is a property in class is used to store data. A property in class is used to store data. A property is used to store data. It can store any type of data. So primitive or non-primitive. It can store any type of data. The primitive or non-primitive. Primitive, non-primitive. So property actually here, property in a class, property is mutable. It can change according to state and the situation. Property is mutable. It can change according to state and situation. According to the state and situation. So for example, syntactically, how you define property is class name. In that you have a property. Into the property, you can define any value. You can store any type of value. Now, how to access the property and use it? You can access property within class by using this keyword if it is not a static. If it is not static. So you have to access property within class, property outside class, by using instance of class. That means class object. Here, what is a static member? I will tell you. We will discuss about static. You can access property within class by using this keyword if it is not static. Outside by using instance of class. So that means syntactically let obj is equal to new class name. Through obj you can access property like this. Through that object you can access the class members. You can access the class members by using property. If a property is a static property, then you have to access by using class name directly. What is static, non-static? I will explain now. We will learn about that. So, if property is static, then it is accessible inside and outside class by using class name. Class name dot property. Like this we access. If property is static, then it is accessible inside and outside class by using class name. Right. So property can store the data and you can access the property and use the property. Here, so many points are there. We will see. how it is mutable, how we can store, access, everything we will learn. First, we will directly practice class. Then we will practice using module. First, once you learn everything about class, you can put in a module system and use it. Let's see. I will go to the app.js. Here I am just using a class because first we are directly practicing class. We are understanding its concept. Class name I given as product. In this class, we are having product class is having the property like product ID. ID is a number type. You can directly store something inside. Properties are defined directly with a name. In JavaScript, these properties don't have any access modifiers. Generally, in other OOP languages, class members can have access modifiers. Access modifiers like they can have public, private, protected. Like this, they can have access modifier. But in JavaScript, class members are not allowed with any access modifiers. These are not allowed. So a class member is defined directly with a name, and in that you can store any value, property especially. Generally, properties in classes in other programming languages that support OOP, they have a lot of more things. Here just only name and a value. Some more points are there, I will tell you. First, now what is ID type? ID type is what? Number. Now similarly, we have name. It is a string. We have price. That is also a number. We have stock. That is a boolean. We have cities. That is an array. You can store any JavaScript primitive type or non-primitive type. You have rating. It is some object. So we have rate some 4 3.6 count some 600. That's how we can define property. Now we can access these properties. How to access the properties and use them outside class? First, we have to create an object, and into that we need to allocate a new memory. New is dynamic memory. Dynamic memory allocated for what? Product. Actually, this is enough in JavaScript. This is enough in JavaScript. Memory allocated for product class. In that memory, all these members are stored. But people have an habit of writing parentheses. They have an habit of writing parentheses. Actually, in other OOP languages, that is mandatory. But in JavaScript, it is not mandatory. It is required only when class is having a constructor and it is expecting parameters. As of now, you don't need that. Actually, everywhere people have an habit of mentioning it, but it is not required. So later I will show you when it is required. That means now what happens? A memory is allocated for product. In that memory, all these members are loaded. You can access them with reference of what? OBJ. That means how you can access console.log. So ID is equal to how to access obj dot what? ID. In the next line, we have name. So obj dot what? Name. In the next line, price. OBJ obj dot what price, and stock obj dot stock. In the next line, cities. So obj dot cities dot join. You know, join is a array function. Na? Join using slash or any separate you can give. Okay. In the next line, rating. So obj dot rating dot what rate. How many people rated? That means we are using obj dot rating dot what count. I need to define like this. Define like this. Now it is ready. How to run this and see? Currently, I am not using any module system. Directly here I can run and see. Or what we can do, we can create in a separate file, import it and use it. That I will show later after learning about complete class. How to run this directly? You can right click on file and select open in integrated terminal, or directly open terminal and change to that location, or open in integrated terminal, it will open like this. That means it opens the current location, that is SRC. Actually, for your understanding sake, I can run in a separate command prompt also. In this command prompt, which location it is, which drive, this folder is present in drive location, we need to know F na. Okay, I am changing to F drive, CD server app, in that CD SRC. This is the location. Here I can run, what is it? Node. Node is the compiler name and file name is what? app.js. It will compile and show. That means I am just running in a separate screen for your understanding. Actually, you can use terminal. In the terminal, you can run. Just I am showing on a separate screen, right? So here you created a class and class have several properties. You can store any kind of data in those properties and you can access any type, JavaScript primitive type or non-primitive. How to access? We can access by using what? You can access by using an instance. Instance of class. What is that instance we created? Obj. Through this, you can access these members and you can use them. This is the first point. I will copy this. I will copy this inside this example. This is just to understand what is a property, how do we define data in it, how do we access. There are a lot of things to know about this. Currently, which version of JavaScript we are using? Actually, latest version of JavaScript is ES15. Latest version of JavaScript is ES15. Very latest version of JavaScript is ES15. So, but our companies are using maximum ES6, ES6, ES7. ES7 also very rare. In interviews also and in your resumes, better just mention about ES6. But actual latest version of JavaScript is ES15. ES15 is the 2024 version of JavaScript actually. ES15 is the latest version. So technically ES6 have so many new concepts. From ES6 onwards, several new concepts are available. We need to understand those new concepts. Earlier, we don't have them. Now we have those new concept. What is that is? What is new in ES6 is actually, so ES6, ES6 and higher versions of JavaScript, ES6 and higher versions of JavaScript support static members in class. They support static members in class. Earlier we don't have them, but ES6 and higher versions they support static. Earlier we don't have them in JavaScript, but now JavaScript latest versions support static member. What is static and non-static member? What is difference between static and non-static? Let's see the concept. So here the frequently asked question, what is static and non-static? Non-static is also called as dynamic. So what is static and what is non-static? So JavaScript latest versions support static members. They support static members. What is difference is, first you need to understand the concept like in any OOP language, this static concept is available. Earlier we don't have in JavaScript, but now JavaScript is also having. So actually we have memory. Generally, this memory is classified into two types. The memory is categorized into two. We have the static memory and we have non-static or dynamic memory. Non-static or dynamic memory. We have dynamic memory. We have two types of memories, the static memory and the dynamic. So generally what is the point is, when you create a class, some demo, in this class we can have two members, one static member s some 0, non-static member some 0. Non-static members are defined directly without any keyword. Static members have a keyword called static. We have to use the keyword static. Now, static memory is allocated for S and the dynamic memory is allocated for N because N is non-static. So, what is difference between static and non-static is, actually static memory is called as continuous memory. It is continuous memory. Static memory is continuous memory. Dynamic memory is called discrete memory. It is discrete memory. Discrete memory means disconnected memory. The continuous memory and the discrete memory. What is continuous memory means? The memory allocated for first object will continue for second, third, fourth, like that. Discrete means memory is newly allocated every time. For example, I will show you here. We will practically implement also. Actually, we are having S increased by 1. s plus 1. Here n value increased by 1, n plus 1. Now what happens is, for this demo class, we created object 1, obj1. We created one object for demo. This object will use s and it will use n. Both of them it will use. Now what happens? S value will be how much? S equal to 0 plus 1 means how much? 1. So first object will make the s value as how much? 1. And n value is also how much? 1. N value also, n is equal to 0 plus 1. Then it is how much? 1. Okay. Now how much value of s and 1? S equal to 1, n equal to 1. So first object finished using. It completed. When it completed, this dynamic memory is deleted. It will reset. But static memory continue. It will not reset. Then what happens is, I created object 2. I created object 2. This object 2 will go to use s and it will go to use which one? N. Now this time s value for object 2 is equal to 2 because it is 1 plus 1. But n value is how much? 1. Because for every object s value is continuing. That means even it is a new object, the memory allocated for the first is continued to the second. This type of memory is called as what? Static. If anyone asks what is static, you should always give the answer static refers to continuous memory. Do you know what Java, C++ people answer? When anyone asks what is static, they will say that static members are accessible by class name. What is my question and what is your answer? My question is, what is static and what is your answer? How static is accessible? That is what majority OOP learners give definition about static. That means they think that static means it is accessed with class name. That is not the definition of static. Static means it is related to how memory is allocated. Static is continuous memory and non-static is discrete memory. Let's take a real-time example. Suppose you are using a phone pay, Paytm or some app for money transfer. You are transferring money to any phone number. To any friend phone number, you are transferring some money. And it asked you password. Please verify password. You verified the password and transaction complete. Immediately, within next second, to the same person, you are sending some more money. Then it will ask password again. Why? Just now I finished. Just now I sent to him. And within next second, I am sending again to the same person. Why it is asking password again? Because the memory allocated for first transaction is deleted automatically after the transaction complete. What is good about it? What this type of memory is called as dynamic memory. Dynamic memory is disconnected, na? Discrete. This type of memory is dynamic. What is advantage? It is little bit better secured. Why? After the transaction, the memory is deleted. That is good. And it saves lot of memory also, because memory will reset na, after the transaction is completed. But what is drawback? Because it is disconnected, anywhere continuous operations if I have to do, it is risky. For example, you opened Gmail. When you open Gmail, it will ask you enter password, user ID password. You logged in with user ID password. For every email, if it asks password again, in a website, you logged in, and in that website, there are 10 pages. For every page, if it asks password, that's not good. That means here, the password I entered for the first time, the same should work for all. Here, which type of memory is required? Static memory is required. What is drawback with static? It is good for continuous operations. What is drawback? You know your Gmail, you don't sign out and close. Somebody comes and opens on your browser Gmail, your account will open to him. No? So it is not secured. It is not safe. You know, na? That means even if you are not using, the memory is still available. That is burden to memory. But it is good for what kind of operations? Continuous. So if you are looking for continuous operations, then better you go with static. If you are looking for discrete operations, then you go with the non-static. So observe now. Let's see. Just observe the concept, because for that you need to learn some more points also. I will show you. See, I will create a class by name demo. In this class, we have static S is 0. So S is a static member. N is 0. N is a non-static member. We have a constructor. Don't worry, next level I will tell you about constructor. Just observe. This constructor is using demo.s is equal to demo.s plus 1. Static members are accessed inside class or outside class by using which name? Class name. By using class name. And I am increasing by 1. I am using this dot n because it is non-static. Non-static members are accessed using this. Inside the class, this dot n plus 1. Okay. After that, I have a print method. This print method is printing. So don't worry about methods and all. Just observe the concept. Console.log, it is printing s equal to demo.s, n equal to this dot what? N. I am printing the value of s and n. Okay. Let's create first object. let obj1 is equal to new demo. Through that obj1, we will call print method. That print method will print the details of s and n. Okay, let's create another object for demo. Through that object, access the print method. Let's create third object. Remember, I am creating 3 different objects for same class. obj3 dot what? Print. 3 different objects, 3 different memory. 3 different objects, 3 different memory allocated. That means a memory is allocated for obj for 2 and 3. Now see, when I run this, what will happen? Node, what is it? app.js. Now you see S is 1, 2, 3, but N is 1. three different objects, but the memory allocated for first object is continuing for the second, and it is continued for the third. Static memory continues, but non-static memory, it will reset every time. That means for every object n is new, but for every object s is continued from the previous. This is just to understand the concept of static and non-static. If anyone asks in interview what is static, what is non-static, you should always tell about continuous memory, discrete memory. Many times we have seen people answering this with a definition that tells how to access them. Java, C++ people, they all answer like they will tell you that static members are accessible by class name. I know that, but what is purpose of static? Purpose of static to allocate a continuous memory. And the purpose of non-static or dynamic is to allocate a discrete memory. So this is the concept of static and non-static. So what is the point here is what is static and non-static. First, actually, we'll see static. It refers to continuous memory. It refers to continuous memory. The memory allocated for first request will continue for other requests. The memory allocated for first request will continue for other requests. So it is good for continuous operations. It uses more memory and is always on. And always on. It may lead to memory leaks. It may lead to memory leaks. So static members are accessible within and outside class by using class name. Within and outside class by using class name. That is static. Non-static or dynamic. It refers to discrete memory. It refers to discrete memory. Memory is newly allocated for every request. Memory is newly allocated for every request. It is good for disconnected operations. It is safe and avoid memory leaks. So non-static members are accessible within class by using this keyword, and outside class by using instance of class. That means object of class. So these are important. Earlier JavaScript doesn't directly support the static keywords. It will not support actually. Now the modern module systems and the modern advanced JavaScript, they support. So in any old version of JavaScript, when you are trying to use this static word, then it will show some warning saying that this is available only in ES6 and higher version. It is not available to the older versions, right? Simply it will say that static is not a keyword of JavaScript. But now it is a keyword of JavaScript you can use. So that is one point about static members. Don't worry about what program I written. I written that program just to show you how static behaves, how non-static behaves. I will give that program, but later you will understand about it. Okay. This is the program. In this program, I written that just to make you understand the difference. So how many objects we have here? 3. But for 3 objects, S is continuing, but N is reset every time. Why? Because N is what? N is a non-static and S is what? Static. Static members are defined by using the keyword static. This is one concept we have here. ES6 and higher versions of JavaScript, they support static members. Another important ES6 and higher versions support private members, support private members, support private members in class. A private member is accessible only within class. Is accessible only within class. It is not accessible outside class. A private member is accessible only within class. It is not accessible outside class. Actually, in old versions, to do that, what we have to do in the old versions, in old versions, what we have to do is there is a technique of using a concept called weak map. JavaScript have a weak map. In JavaScript you learnt about map type you learned now, object type, and what, array type, non-primitive types, map type. These are non-primitive types. There is a weak map, and by using weak map you can create any member, and that member can be private. It will not allow to access outside. It will not allow to access outside. So earlier in JavaScript, if they want any private member so that it is available only inside the class, not outside, then they used to use the concept of weak maps. But now we can use that with a different technique. What is the technique is actually, let's see. Suppose now I am having a class product. In the product class, I have name, okay, some name. I have price, some price, and I have some stock, true or false. I want a print method. This print method should be able to print all the detail. Inside the class, how to access them? Console.log, suppose name, how we can access this dot name. Next price. So this dot price, and we have stock. This dot what? Stock. All are using this only. That depends on whether it is a static or non-static. Because I'm not using the word static, then they are all non-static. So we have to access by using this, right? Now observe, I am creating an object. I am creating an object. LET object is equal to new product. Through that object, I am trying to access name, price, print, stock, all are available. Means what I can do, before printing the price or name, I can change them. I can change the name to Samsung LED OLED TV something. Actually, it is assigned initialized with this. I am assigning a new. And similarly, obj dot price, I am changing the price to 60,000. And I am printing obj dot print. Stock I am not changing. If you want, you can change the stock. I am printing, and observe now node app dot what? JS. It is printing the changes. What changes I made, those changes it is printing now. I don't want price to be accessed outside, only inside. That means I don't want the price to be accessed outside, only inside. There are so many techniques you will learn. If I give outside, may give access outside, they can modify it. They can use it outside. I don't want. I want to just use only inside. Then actually we have to create this like a weak map. Weak map. Old technique is nothing but we have to create some price as weak map. We have to create a weak map. And by creating the price as weak map, we have to see price is a weak map. We can use the price here and we can implement that price. So we have to use in different ways actually now. Means we need to configure like a key and property. We need to define that. Then it will become private and all. There is more concept. We have to write a lot of logic for that. Now in modern JavaScript, you don't need that. In modern JavaScript, just you have to mark that with hash. Then it becomes private. You access by using hash, then it becomes private. You use the prefix hash, then it becomes a private. That means you see it is declared, but it is never used. And actually, that is the private member. And observe here, it is saying it is declared and price may not exist in product. It is not exists. It is asking, do you mean by hash price? Right? For example, if I give here hash price, that means it is accessible there. Observe now, I am trying to remove this obj dot. You see price is not available in list. It is not available in list. In the list, what are available? Only name and print and stock. Price is not available. Suppose I'm using it. You run the program again. Node and app.js. It shows the price $50,000. It is not accessible outside. It is not changing now. Now people call this as read only. But actual concept is not read only. Actual concept is what? Making it as what? Private. Private, that is the reason it is accessible only inside. You can't access it outside. Outside. But generally people call it read only like. But read only is a different thing. I will show you what is read only. How to keep read only. That means now this price is a private member. We can create such private members so that they are accessible only inside the location, not accessible outside. Even you try to access outside, they are not available to access. So what is the point here? So the point is the modern JavaScript have several new techniques of configuration. Remember, these all are new in JavaScript. Earlier, we don't have them. In other programming languages, they can use the keywords like private. Like suppose they want this price private, then they use the word private. And here it shows an error. What is that error? It says that private modified can be used only in TypeScript, not in JavaScript. Then here how you configure the private member. You can configure that by using hash. That's how we can define. So what is the concept of private member is making it accessible only within the class, not outside the class. So you can configure a private member in modern JavaScript by using hash prefix. Early versions of JavaScript requires implementation by using weak map. But now in modern JavaScript, we just define that by using hash. So we have a method. In the method, how to access this dot hash property. We can access inside. It's not accessible outside. Not accessible outside. So that is the class name. So many more are there. You will come across one by one, because just we are still learning about what property. We are learning about property. Now in the properties, you understood about static and you understood about private, how to manage them. Example is this one. This is example for that. How do we configure and define? Now, so here obj dot price is equal to some 60,000. So what is the point? Not allowed. Am I right? That is not allowed. But actually it is not read only. It is hidden. We can make it read only also. We can make it read only. Read only, read write. That means we are saying that properties are mutable, variables are not mutable. Then how do we prove that property is mutable? That means property can change according to situation. In one situation, it allows to change. In another situation, it will not allow to change. How do you control the properties? To control the properties, you need very important accessors. In class, the second important is accessor. So class can have a property. What is the purpose of property? Properties will store the data. Whatever data is required, you can store in a property. So what is the purpose of accessor? Accessors are used to control the properties. That means accessors provide a fine grained control over property. Accessors provide a fine grained control over property. Fine grained control means what? Each and every concept of property you can easily control. Grain means like a sand grain. That means sand grain means every particle, every part you can easily control. So actually, accessors allow to manage, read and write operations on a property. Manage, read and write operations on a property. Accessors allow to manage, read and write operations on a property. So there are two types. You have get, it is called a getter. To read value, read and return value of a property. We have set, setter, setter to write or assign value into property. We have getter and we have setter. So getters and setters are responsible for controlling the property. We can have a good control over the property by using these getters and setters. So these are getters and setters. So actually, getter uses a alias name, and what it can do is it can return the value. It can return actually property value. Setter uses an alias name and takes a new value, and it will assign the new value into property. So getter and setters. Getter will read and return the value. Setter will store the new value into property. So setter is used for assigning. Getter is used for reading. So you can control read and write operations on any property by using these accessors, getters and setters. So for example, see the situation now. What is the situation? As I explained, for one customer, it should be able to show the price, but it should not allow to change the price. But for admin, it should allow to change the price. So we are creating a simple class. That program already I given, right? So I'm having a class product. Okay. In this, I'm having some underscore product name. Underscore product name. You can give any name. Underscore is a traditional prefix used for any memory reference to tell the developers that it is not completely implemented. It requires further implementation. That is just a tradition. You can give anything. So traditionally, developers have an habit of giving underscore before any property name or before any method name to tell that this is not completed. It requires more implementation. That's just a tradition. You can write anyway, doesn't matter. Now, what is this property is, I want product name to be controlled by two people. Customer can read the product name, but he cannot modify the product name, price, anything. Admin can change the product name. He cannot, so put, customer cannot change that. Let's see what we do. I will use here, so a simple where let some role is equal to, as of now the role is customer. Suppose the role is customer. Because currently we are using server side, we cannot use alert, prompt, nothing. We have to take the value static. Later we can take the value from client side and we can use server side. For that we need a communication. As of now, just put the role. And we have a user. What is that user? Is John. That is the user. And what is his role? Customer. Now, actually, this property can be directly controlled, but I don't want like that. I want restrictions on it. Then what I will do is I will create an accessor, get a name which refers to that property, but it should not be exactly like property. Then I will use product name like this. That means it is referring to this property, but not exactly the same property because it is not having underscore. It is having uppercase letter. Am I right? That means I created a alias for this property. Now, what this getter have to do? It should return. It should return. What to return? The value stored inside this property. How to access it? Because it is a non-static member, we have to access this dot what? Underscore product name. That means now what getter is doing? It is returning what is the property name? Product name. It is returning the value present inside this. Anytime you want to read the value present in a property, we have to use an accessor. This accessor is what? Getter. How to assign a value into the property? We will use a set. Set what? Product name. It will take new value and we will set that into the property. So this dot underscore product name is equal to what? New value. So what this setter is doing, taking a new value and assigning into the property. But here we have to put restriction. Everyone should not able to do this. Then we will write a condition. What is the condition? If role is equal to admin. Understood? If role is admin, then only he must able to do this. If role is not admin, then it should display a message console.log. So hello and that username, user, you are not authorized to change product name. This message we are giving. That means now we have a property. That property allows to assign a value only for people who have the role as what? Admin. Others cannot do that. That means now a property can be controlled with read and write operation. For one person, it will allow to write. For another person, it will not allow to write. That means it is now mutable. In one situation, it is allowing read write. In another situation, it is allowing only read, not allowing to write. That means we are controlling this property. Now see what to do. We will create an object for that class. Let obj is equal to which class? Product. Through that obj, we will access product name. Product name is accessor. Into that, we will pass the new name. Samsung LED TV, like this, some new name we are passing. We are passing some new name into this. After that, obj dot, we have to print, we will print that name. How do we print the name? After you have a getter, setter. Now what we need to do, we have to print. So actually print directly we can do. What we will do now here. So if the user is admin, it will allow to store. If user role is not admin, what will be the value inside this? If user stores, if user allows, this value will be stored. If it is not admin, then it will not allow to store. Then what will be the value inside product name? You are not allowing to store any value, then obviously it is undefined. Am I right? So we will write a condition. If obj dot product name, what does it means if it is defined? You know in JavaScript how to verify defined and undefined. If it is defined, then print it. That means what we will do, console.log, we will print product name. How to access the product name? To access the product name, we have to use obj. What is it? Product name. That means if product name is defined, then print the product name. If not defined, then it will print this message. It will print this message. That means now what happens is when user enters a new name, actually it should store here now. No, it will not do that. It will send this to the accessor. It will send that to the accessor. What accessor will do? It will verify whether the role is admin. If the role is admin, then this value it will try to store in the product name. If role is not admin, then this value will not be stored. It will show this message. Am I right? That means storing a new value into product name depends on what? Role. If current role is what? Current role is customer, na? Current role is customer. Let's run this and see now. I will run this here. Node app dot what? JS. It says, hello John, you are not authorized to change product name. We will change his role here. We will change his role from customer to what? Admin. Okay, let's run this again and see. This time it is allowing. That means in one situation it is allowing to store. In another situation it is not allowing to store. It's not allowing to store. That means we have a full control over a property. That is the reason variable cannot behave like this. Variable, once you declare with var or let, it is always assignable. When you declare with const, it is always not assignable. Now we have a property which can allow assignment and it will restrict assignment. Depending on situation, it will change. This is the proof of the mutability of a member. Mutability of a member. Do you know in MNC's high level interviews, they will ask you POC, proof of concept. Proof of concept means they will ask you one definition. That means they will ask you what is static. Then you will tell a definition. Then they will say that show me POC. Proof of concept means what? Show this proof with a program. Prove this with a program. That means whenever you are learning a language, you need to learn all the POCs. Very important. Proof of concept means you can't simply narrate a definition. Like school, colleges, you do give answers. You have to prove the definition. You have to prove the definition. That means you are telling about something, you have to prove it. If you say static is continuous, prove that and show me. You say non-static is discrete, prove that and show me. You say that so these accessors can control properties are mutable, show me. Variables are not mutable, show me. Show with example. These are very important. Means remember, in medium small scale companies for UI developer, they don't test logically very much. They will just test CSS, HTML, minimum basic JavaScript. You have good presentation skills, you are ready for job. But MNC is not like that. MNCs are not interested with your presentation skills. They first check logical skills. Once you are qualified with that, then you are a developer for them. They will test this for every technology people. So you need to know the proof of concepts. That means for every definition, you should have a proof program. You need to learn a program for every definition. So that is what we are going to do here. We are trying to do that here. If the role is what? Customer. If the role is customer, then he is not authorized. If the role is admin, then he is authorized. He can change. That means whenever any new value is assigned, First, it will verify whether the role admin. Now, if anybody asked you, can I try this same for reading also? Yes, you can put restriction for reading also. For example, you see websites like bikes, cars and all. Real estates, bikes and cars. You are browsing a car or bike in their official website. You want its on-road price, how much price it is. Then they will say, please enter your mobile number, contact details, then only we will show. That means you cannot even read the data, means the price is not visible if you don't log in. You don't provide your contact. You provide your contact, price is sent to you. If you don't provide the contract, you cannot. Contact details. That means even we can have a permission for reading, not only for writing. We will say that if user is successfully logged in, then show him price. If not logged in, don't show him price. That means even reading also we can control. Here also we can write condition. Na? If role is this, then return. Otherwise, don't return. We can write anywhere. Accessors, we can have a getter and a setter. Remember, inside the class, as of now, you have only one property. But to control the property, you have accessors. We have getter and a setter, right? So they are used for a fine control over the properties, read and write operation. This is example. This is example for that, right? So what are properties and what are accessors? Accessors. Accessors have another use also. Not just only this, we use in different situation also. What is the different situation is, suppose lengthy operations are present. Just example I will show here, see. Suppose we have a product class, okay. In this product class, we are having a name. That name is simple. Now here we are having rating. Rating is an object. And in this rating, so here we have vendor rating. In that object, there is vendor rating. Vendor rating is again an object. Vendor rating is again an object. So it is again an object. In that object, so Hyderabad vendor. In this Hyderabad vendor, again there is an object. That means we are having another object inside it. We are having another object inside. And in that object, we have a rate, some 4.5. So in the vendor rating, we have, so this is Hyderabad vendor and we have a Delhi vendor. Delhi vendor. Delhi vendor is again an object. This will have a rate as 4.6. Now, like this, a lengthy hierarchy may be there. This is vendor rating. Similarly, we have customer rating. Customer rating will have rate as suppose 4.2. Now, what is the concept is, I want to access Hyderabad vendor rating. LET OBJ is equal to new product. Tell me how to access and print it. Hyderabad vendor rating. How to access it? Tell me. OBJ. OBJ dot what? Rating. In that rating, what it is? Vendor rating. In the vendor rating, which one? Hyderabad vendor. In that, which one? Rate. This is lengthy. There may be more lengthy. That means an object in object in object in object, there can be more lengthy. Then every time referring this is risky. Suppose I want to assign a new rating, then again I have to access this lengthy. Then how do we manage this is, we can do one thing. We will create a getter. Hyderabad vendor rating. That is the getter. What it has to return? It should return this dot rating dot vendor rating dot Hyderabad vendor dot rate. Now what we do here, just we have to use obj dot Hyderabad vendor rating. That's it. Understood? Huh? That means what an accessor is doing, it is simplifying the accessibility of a member. It is simplifying the accessibility of a member. Instead of writing lengthy, you can just write a simple. That means you don't need to write all this every time. Now you just use this one. It will return this now. That means you see now I print that here node app.js Hyderabad vendor rating is 4.5. Now important is here, suppose before printing obj.Hyderabad vendor rating, I given as suppose 5. Now when I run this, you can see it is not taking. Why? Hyderabad vendor rating, it is not taking the new value. Why? Because this is just having a getter. It is not setter. Na? That means it will not allow to set a value. It will allow only to read. If I should allow to set a value, then what we have to do? We have to create a setter. Hyderabad vendor rating. It should take new rating na? And it should assign where this dot rating dot vendor rating dot Hyderabad vendor dot rate is equal to what? New rating. Now it will allow. Now it will allow to store the new rating and display. Otherwise it will not. If a setter is not defined, then it is read only. You can just only read, you cannot write. If setter is defined, then it will perform both read and write. So it is used for various purpose. In this case, I am using an accessor to handle a member which is in a very inner hierarchy. To avoid lengthy hierarchy of access, I am using what? I am using this accessors. So accessors are used for various reasons. One, to control read-write operations. Another one, to represent lengthy operation in a shorthand way. We can do that by using these accessors. So you learn two members in a class. What are those? The properties and accessors. Now we have methods, constructors, inheritance, polymorphism like concepts, what it supports in class. That we'll see tomorrow. Right? In tomorrow's session, tomorrow no doubt session, regular session will be there. In tomorrow's session, we will continue with this. Okay? Right.